Hello and welcome. So I'm in really good energy recently. I don't know if you can tell the difference as the podcast goes on. I'm actually doing episodes week by week now. However, I do sometimes in future plan to get myself quite ahead with them and be able to I do want to get them ahead because I actually don't work during half term now. So there is one at the end of the month with the kids at the time of recording this in May. And then we have summer, of course, where we've got 6 weeks off, and we're actually on holiday for the first week. I'm working 4 weeks, and then I don't know what we're gonna do the last week, but I'm having the week off with the kids, and we'll do some nice things. So I'll have to get myself ahead and organised to be able to have the freedom during that time. Plus, I will not record podcast episodes whilst the kids are home because there is a high chance that I will be interrupted. Which brings me into today's topic actually for this podcast episode. And the topic is how systems create freedom, the truth about organisation in business. And the reason I decided to talk about this at this point this week is because I am actually I've just done my intentions. I set my intentions for the week actually, and I've shared them with my clients who are working on their launches with me at the moment. And the three intentions are: one, to get my mastermind campaign mapped out; two, to get my foundations launched onto my project management system; and the third one is to do relevant follow-ups I've been putting off because I hate following up. I hate it because it feels icky. But the thing is, getting myself set with those intentions, then being able to action them is really, really important. And actually, the campaign for the mastermind, mapping it out, gets me organised, and then the foundations launch onto my project management system just makes it so simple to be able to action. And I've been writing down what I want my impact to be this week, and actually it is for me to teach people how organisation, systems and processes create freedom and not just prevent it, and why people need to stop avoiding it, because I see it a lot of the time. And I've been using and creating content on this recently around why it's different to work with me, why I'm the mentor why I'm the only option really when you are feeling overwhelmed and chaotic, unorganised and stuck, and how working with me changes that. And so I wanted to bring it into the podcast today and talk about, I've got different things that I can cover with this. So let's just get going. So the first thing, I want to talk about the myths of structure. A lot of people think when I put a structure in place, whether it's a new system, whether it's a routine, whether it's a rota, whatever that system is, they instantly think restriction. Can't do that because it's going to restrict me. I don't like restriction. I get it, I hear you, because I am exactly the same. I'm not a huge fan of restriction, and this is why in the past things such as time blocking just didn't work for me. And if you're related to that and you've tried time blocking, and every mentor out there is probably telling you to time block, but it's never really worked for you, then listen up, because this is where we can make a change. The point of structure is not to create restriction. Systems and organisation do not have to be rigid. They don't have to be boring. They don't have to be for personalities like me who thrive on it. You can do it in a way that actually creates freedom. You see it as a tool. Whatever structure you put in place becomes I want you to reframe that mindset around it actually, that it becomes a structure or a tool for creativity and flexibility. It's not a cage. We're not locking the bird in the cage. You're still going to be allowed to fly. You're still going to be allowed to spread your wings. In fact, because I am so organised, it does mean that I can get my podcast ready and still have that impact that I want, promoting the things that I want through the podcast, sharing and talking about the topics that I want, education on what I want, and helping you as a listener with the podcast. I can still do that whilst I go off and have a holiday with my family, whilst I go for days out over summer, whilst I go and sit in the garden and sunbathe. Like, I might be looking a bit browner week by week if you're watching on YouTube. In fact, the lighting on here is not in my office today is not great. I've had to close the door for the sound for the podcast, but I am looking a little bit tanned because I spent the weekend sat in the garden and it was absolutely beautiful. So you'll find me doing that in summer, and the only reason I have the freedom to do that is because the structures that I put in place are a tool for flexibility. It's not keeping me trapped. I move things all the time. It's just the way that I've mastered running things behind the scenes allows me to create that to happen. Oh, I've just had someone calling me whilst I'm on the podcast, which is bloody annoying because it might cut out. So I'm actually going to put my phone into aeroplane mode because if it's important, they'll get in touch with my husband. Okay, so moving on. The next thing I want to talk about is freedom comes from knowing what's working. So when it comes to your business and being organised, if you don't know what's working, then how can you change things to create freedom? So it's basically freedom is created from clarity. So if you don't understand what's working, then how can you eliminate the things that are not working? How can you eliminate the guesswork? So we want to take away the guesswork, and you want to be able to hone in and focus on the things that are working. One, so that you can do more of it, so that you can double down on getting the results that you actually want. And second of all, so that you can free up time for the things that are just stealing your time. And I'm talking about things that you've probably been taught, myself included in the past, that maybe do work, but actually don't feel aligned for you and don't create freedom. One of the easiest examples I can think of, because there are so many people out there teaching it, is this idea that you have to post content 3 times a day. The thing is, when I say that, a lot of people will get really overwhelmed, and it means that then they're either doing quick fire content because they're focusing on quality over quantity over quality, so the content you're putting out is not as good, and then it's not getting the results. Whereas actually, if you realise and got clear around that, and it's just guesswork, like you just throw in spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it sticks, and then change that. So instead of doing one quality piece a day, aiming to tweak and test it, look at your stats and get results from it, then you can grow and change it. Then that's a system that's going to work on the business, not just in it. Because firing out content, or where are you doing things? Where are you churning out tasks in your business that are not actually getting your results? So how can you put a system in place that works on it, and it's not just on autopilot, it's actually with great energy that's going to get great results? Freedom comes from knowing what's working. Freedom comes from clarity. And one of the biggest testimonials I actually get from clients is, I always get so clear. Oh, I feel like I've got clarity. Those words always come up for me in the feedback that I get from my clients, because there is so much power. But I used to think it was a negative. Oh, I was so focused on the tangible outcome of making more money, which yes, I can help you with, but not realising that actually the clarity is the superpower that's going to get them to the point of being able to free up more time, which is the thing we really want, don't we, whilst making more money. It starts with clarity. So systems help you work on the business and not just in it, and there is a difference, because I see this time and time again, and I fell into the trap most recently. I was real, raw, open and honest in my previous episode, talking about my recent burnout, which actually I've bounced back from a lot quicker than I had expected. I feel great now, starting every week, seeing my week and the way it's mapped out, because I've designed it. That's by design. I've created it in a way that works with me, works with my energy, and I have flexibility. But behind the scenes, I have the systems that help me work on the business, as well as create that flexibility to rest when I need to. So I see people all the time where they're working in the business. So what I mean by that is creating content and churning loads of content out, or spending lots of time with clients, or spending time going to networking events because we're told those things you should do. I've told you should do those things. Yes, you should. But how about having that dedicated time, a system to work on the business? So working on your messaging, working on your strategy, working on the plans, working on your project management system to action everything that you need to action, working on brainstorming, working on learning and developing and getting the support that you need to move things forward, working on the programs, the launches, the things that you're going to do. We need to work on the business and not just in it. That's really, really important. And the only way we can do that is through clarity and organisation, and then putting the systems in place to allow you to have the balance of both, working on the business and working in it. It's so, so important. I'm just going to have a little sip of my ice water before we move on, because it's really hot now in the UK, which I'm loving. So I've been getting ice in the freezer and making myself some lovely ice water. Beautiful. So, and time back, getting time back. You want to focus on building a business that gives you time back, right? I'm such a huge advocate of this. I'm so passionate about this because that to me is what real freedom looks like. And if you're building a business where you've not got anything automated, you've not created your own templates, and I know there's a lot said about templates. Loads of people say, don't use templates. But it doesn't mean you have to go and use someone else's template. You can create your own template, your own framework, your own system that supports you to be able to do repetitive jobs. And this is what I create and I absolutely love. So automation, templates, and mapping out workflows can save so much time. That is what freedom looks like to me, is giving you back some time. Because if you are manually doing every action, especially repetitive actions, why are we wasting time on that? Think about how you can automate it. And a lot of the time, the blocks that I find a lot of people come up against when it comes to automation is needing and learning the tech and allowing that to overwhelm them. The time to implement the tech, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to just prioritize it, because what you give in terms of time now, you'll get back later. It's about what you get put in now, you can get back later. So thinking about like working in the start of your business, like you might be working 12-hour days, but 2 years down the line, you might be doing a 5-hour day. You might have 2 days a week, 3 days a week you're working. You have that complete freedom and flexibility that you desired because you put the work in the beginning. So really think about that and how these things can save you time by implementing now. But another thing people come up against when it comes to automation and the tech side of it is the amount of money that you have to invest in it. When I was 3 months into this business, it was a no-brainer for me. It was a no-brainer to sign up to Kartra, which is my all-in-one system, to implement my website, build a website, implement sales pages, sequences, email marketing. In fact, I did that on day one. Before I even launched the business, I did it. I set that up through a smaller, cheaper platform. In fact, it was loads of different things and it was very clunky. So I went 3 months into the business, I went into an all-in-one. Yes, it was a lot of money, which instantly I hesitated, but I'm so glad that I decided to invest. I pay about £88 a month, and every time I say that, everybody goes, but think about the return on that investment that I get. Everything's all in one place. Again, saves me time because I don't have to log in to loads of different platforms, get loads of different passwords, find content in different places. It's all in one place. And that saves me time in itself. It makes things easy. I'm all for making and creating ease within your business, because to me, that's what freedom looks like. So I want to give you some examples of things that you can go do. And some of these things you've probably heard before, but I can bet £1,000 that you're not actioning it. So I want you to go and action it from today. Set the intention to go action some of these things. So I'm going to share 3 things with you that you can go and do that'll give you time back to work towards creating more freedom. The first one is content batching. Told you it'd be nothing new. You've heard about batching content before, and I'm going to ask you real now. Like, answer this question for yourself. Have you given content batching a go? If not, why not? I love batching content. So I do it in a couple of different ways. One of the ways I do it is I have a content girl who shoots content for me. So either I go into her studio or we go on location and she captures lots of content of me doing things that I can then use for my social media, right? So I do that. Another way that I've content batched is I sit and do brainstorming sessions with myself. I like to try do them on a once-a-month basis so I can think about my goals for the month ahead, plan out my content, brain dump it all, and then I can go create it and schedule it. I tend to not schedule too far in advance now, because sometimes I do change slightly what I'm doing, so just be mindful of that. But having it all created and ready to go is really, really useful, because then every day I can just rock up and schedule it or post it. So content batching is super powerful. If you're not in a position to pay someone to capture the content for you like I do, you can still do it. Get yourself, with your hair done, your makeup done if that makes you feel good, get yourself in a lovely place, in a lovely space, get yourself a tripod, set your camera up and get going. Snap the photos, capture everything, right? That is what I've done. I've done that and it works so well. I used to do that in the past. Now I hire someone to do it for me. All I have to do is rock up. If you're not confident in doing it yourself, take a friend. Ask a business friend who also wants to batch some content. If you can have a day together, you could go to a lovely hotel. get a meal, get some coffee and take some photos, or you could do it from your own home, make it look beautiful and get going. Get content for each other. This can work as a cost effective way to batch content. Gives you time back because you have it all done for you. That can last you for ages. I put mine into a folder. I've got absolutely loads now. So batch your content. The second thing is have an onboarding system. It's such a massive bugbear for me when I sign up and buy something and I don't get it straight away. It really, really irritates me. And there's just no need because we can do a lot of this stuff for free these days. So get yourself an onboarding system. What this means is that when someone buys something from you, you can automate the onboarding. So it might be that you have MailerLite for free, and when someone purchases from you, MailerLite sends them a thank you email and it tells them what the next steps are. It gives them the thing that they've purchased if it's digital, or if it's online and they need access to it, or it can give them all the information. And then, a couple of days later, it can follow up with another email with the next steps, and so on. Have yourself an onboarding system. So obviously in a service-based business like mine and the clients that I work with, most of us should be, and if you aren't, why not? Most of us should be, when we're onboarding clients, getting contracts signed. Give them access to the things that they need, and send any relevant information. So for me, I have it mapped out. There's a step-by-step process depending on what service you come into, and you'll get all that. You'll get an email onboarding you, showing you what's next, walking you through it, giving you what you need. So everything is in one place. And I really, really feel like that's so important. So how can you implement an onboarding system just to make the process easier for you and better as an experience for your clients as well? Because the thing is, if you have and you grow your business and you have, say, more than 10 clients, how challenging is it going to be to have to onboard 10 clients or more manually? How frustrating is that going to be? And this came about for me from my old business actually, because when I was doing keepsakes, there were a lot of people that were ordering from me. I had a backlog of 8 weeks plus, and so I was booking things in way in advance. And at one point, I had message after message after message coming in because people wanted to know how long it was going to be before that. Even though in the beginning, I told these people we were on an 8-week turnaround, but they want to hear something in that 8 weeks. They want to know where I'm at. So a lot of the time I did actually batch create to save time and be more productive. I batch created my keepsakes, so I'd cut all the patterns out together. I'd organise it into bags and label everything so I knew what was what. I'd label everything ready for embroidery, cut the parts out. In fact, eventually I got my husband to start cutting, so I'd draw all the patterns out, then pass them to my husband for cutting, then it'd come back to me, I'd sew it all up, pass it to the husband for stuffing, come back to me and I'd finish the little details. We had such a good process going because I got organised, but the problem then became that I had so many orders, so many people I was dealing with, and each person had usually order quite a few items, so I wasn't just making one thing, I was making sometimes 10 things per person, so it was a lot to keep on board with, right? So I realised I needed a system where I could communicate with people exactly where they were at. So I created this system. It's not really onboarding, it's more like processing system. So when they got an order, they got the thank you email and it told them about the next steps and what was going to happen next, what the wait time was, even though I might have already told it to them in a message beforehand. Then they would get, after about maybe 2 weeks, an update saying what's happening. I eventually put a system in place where I could trigger it to send an email saying that I was designing how their keepsake was going to look. Then I'd get another one saying I was now cutting into their fabric, and I know that it'd be scary because it was personal items to them and they might be nervous, but just trust the process and you're going to love what's about to come out at the end of it. And then I'd let them know that the final stitches are being done and the stuffing's being put in place, and then I actually would personally reach out to the client. I'd send them photos, everything's done. Usually if there's anything they did want tweaking, they'd let me know, I could go do that, and then we'd arrange collection or we'd get it in the post to them. So I started putting that system in place to make it super easy to follow this structure, so everybody knew what was happening, everybody was happy, and then I weren't getting all these messages that were actually interrupting the workflow that I had going. So being organised and creating a system that gives you time back like that actually makes it a lot easier for you as well, because you don't have that back and forth. Because imagine trying to work on a full day with clients, but you're getting messages from other clients that haven't got what they need. This is how putting a system in place can have an impact. And then finally, in terms of getting time back to create freedom, third tip I want to share with you is weekly planning routines. Think about, and I thrive off routine, but sometimes it does feel like structure and I don't like it, and this is why I rejig them quite regularly. But think about weekly routines that you can put in place. In fact, I'm going to change one of those words. If you know me, or if you've been in my world a while, you'll know about the daily method of operation. Is the first thing I ever taught. It kick-started my career as a coach and mentor for businesses. And basically, I have a yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly and daily method of operation for my business. So they are different routines that I've planned in, different tasks that need to happen for me to do all the things that I want to do to grow my business. So I want you to think about what are the yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly and daily activities that you need to do to keep your business running. And this is the kind of work that I do and map out with my clients behind the scenes. So when you've brainstormed that, you can put it into those regular routines to be able to action it, so you know what you need to do and when. And it's the only reason I say super frigging organised. And anyone that's not doing it, I want to ask why. Why would you not set something in place like that that allows you to go in, check what you need to do, tick it off, and then go and spend your time how you actually want to spend it. Makes such a difference. So that's the third thing, is make sure you've got your planning routines in place. So, when it comes to creating freedom, when it comes to putting systems in place, when it comes to growing your business, it can sometimes be quite overwhelming, and sometimes you can get in decision fatigue. Like, you don't know what system to use, what tech to use. You don't even know how to get started, especially because a lot of the time you have never done any of this before. And this is why I advocate that working with me, because it's different, because I will think about this. I'll think about things in a systematic approach that are just going to make your life easier. Because the problem is, I advocate getting support, right? Business support for you to grow your business. I would never be without a business coach now, unless I wasn't really sure who to work with. However, what I feel happens is, if you don't know, go and learn from the expert. Pretty obvious. People do. They might read books, they might do a course, they might go into a group program, a mastermind, or work one-to-one with someone. I've done all of those things and I've implemented from all of those things. But what happens when you do all these things is it actually just piles more onto your to-do list, gives you more to do, which then makes you overwhelmed because you see this massive list. And then you also find that you get into this like blur of decision fatigue, because you don't know what to do first. And the advice is just go and prioritise something. Prioritise it. However, because you're in decision fatigue, you don't know what to prioritise because you're not the expert in business growth. You don't understand what needs to happen next, what you need to do. So it leaves you waking up every day feeling, what should I do today? And I really, really want you to come into your business on a day-to-day basis and know exactly what you need to do today. It's like, have you ever seen or read? I read about Mark Zuckerberg. He wears the same thing every day, and you'll notice there are other successful people that do exactly the same. Simon Cowell with his really high-waisted pants and black shirt. Mark Zuckerberg, as I've just mentioned, with his jeans and his white shirt. There are other successful people that do it as well. The reason they do this is to avoid the decision fatigue of deciding what to wear today. It takes away that moment where they have to think about it. It takes it away, and that can save you so much time in itself. So creating systems such as wearing the same clothes every day, or in my house it's having a meal plan in place so we don't have to think what we're eating today. We spend more time wondering what we're going to eat to gear us up to prepare for the meal than actually making the meal and eating the food. Make sense, right? And this happens, excuse me, just got a bit of a tickly throat as I'm talking now. This happens quite a lot. And so I want you to think about how you can reduce overwhelm and decision fatigue by just deciding, just putting a system in place to eliminate difficult choices. We want to create what Denise Duffield Thomas would say as the chillpreneur lifestyle, right? It creates mental space and emotional freedom too, because sometimes or often we can feel overwhelmed because we just in the moment don't know. And I am really passionate about people getting up and knowing what they want to work on today. But that only comes about with, like I've previously mentioned, clarity and with some organisation. So I want you to think about that as well. How can you reduce overwhelm and eliminate decision fatigue? I also want to talk about scalability and sustainability. So scalability it comes after growth. So in my mind, there are 3 stages in business. You've got the startup stage where you're just getting started. I think a lot of people are still in that stage, but they think they're in the growth stage, but actually they've not set the foundations and they're not making consistent sales or income because they've not set those foundations. So they're actually still very much a startup, even though they may have been in business 10 years or 5 years, whatever, right? So I want you to acknowledge where you are. So startup to me is someone that hasn't got the basics and the foundations in place. And then you've got the growth stage, which I see as like the secondary stage. This is where you have got the foundations in place. You are bringing in consistent sales, consistent clients, consistent income. Things are ticking by and it's going quite nice. But you're at you might then find that you're at a like if it's on a graph and you projected how well your business is going on a graph, it might be a straight line and we want it to curve upwards. So this is what the person who's in growth, that's how I see them. And the final stage is what I call scalable stage. This is where you have got you've got those foundations in place, you've seen growth, but you're ready to scale it and make it so much more. So this might be, for example, if you're going to scale something, I'm trying to think of a really good example. The only thing I can think of is my networking business, right? So at startup, it might be, I'm already trying to work on all 3, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you were experienced in business. But startup in that would be on my own, running networking events, building a community, getting known for the thing that I do, right? Growth stage would be then starting a membership, bringing other income streams in, so that I can sell more than one service. And then scalable stage is bringing other people in to run networking events for me and running them at different times, different days, and at different locations across the world. That's what scaling it is. It's taking what existing's already got and making it bigger and scaling it so that you can make more money. The thing is though, when you do any of that, you need to do it with sustainability, because you can't grow what's chaotic. So if you're in the startup phase and you're not building those foundations, it's not going to be sustainable. If you've built the foundations, but you're not organising your approach and you've got no structure and systems in place for keeping that where it is, for example, say you have built a sustainable business, you've mastered the foundations, you've sold out a group program, those people are working with you for 12 months even, and you've got that in place, right? You've got this nice sustainable structure, but at the end of those 12 months, those people are going to finish. If you've nothing in place to keep that going, then it's going to be on a downward spiral. So you don't want that to happen. So you can't grow what's chaotic. You need to be able to forecast. You need to be able to see the future. You need to be able to create structure to make space for success. So if things are chaotic, they're not going to sustain. And having structures, systems, processes in place allows for you to foresee, allows for you to audit, allows for you to move and take action based on where you're at. It's really, really important. It might also be that the way you scale and be sustainable, especially as you are in the growth stage, it might be that you're doing a lot yourself, you're doing more things because you've got multiple income streams, and that might be a point where you need to start putting support in place, so hiring people, delegating, and enable yourself to scale without burnout. So it might be that you invest in support such as mentorship or someone working for you, whether it's freelance or whether it's employed, and exploring what that needs to look like. So for me, I'd say that happens in the middle stage in growth, to allow yourself to scale and sustain successfully. And again, that's what freedom can look like, is being able to pay people but still make enough money yourself. And for me, it's about the time that it gives back. It's more the time than the money that it gives by delegating, and I love that. But when it comes to freedom, you want to create freedom within your own boundaries. So we all need boundaries, and basically, organisation will give you space to be more innovative, not less. So it'll give you time to just to be able to give yourself time, which allows creative flow. But the thing is, having things planned out will allow room for spontaneous ideas or downtime, but you need to have those boundaries. You need to have the boundaries within yourself first to make sure that you are saying you're going to do what you're going to do. Having that leadership to make a commitment to yourself and honour that commitment, but also to other people as well, whether it's your clients, whether it's your team, but also setting boundaries with people so they're not taking too much. So if one of your newfound boundaries and what freedom looks like for you is having a full day off, no work at all, and in your heart you know you don't want to be answering messages, you don't want to be on social media, then set that boundary that you're not available on that day, and don't be touching it on that day as well, because it works two ways. So set the boundaries. How can you organise this? How can you create that space to have the freedom within the boundaries that work for you? And then when it comes to systems, they need to reflect your values. So for me, I have worked with people, I've worked with processes and systems that just didn't work for me. It has to work for you. So you want to tailor them to your goals, your energy, your lifestyle. So what works for me might not work for you, and this is why I don't teach a cookie cutter copy me kind of style, because my average work week looks like Mondays are all about content. So I do things like the podcast recordings, I might create content for social media, for my emails, things like that. I might do some planning. Occasionally I might get on a call. On Tuesdays, I spend a lot of time working on my business rather than in it. So this is stuff like the admin work, planning, behind the scenes stuff, doing any trainings that I might have, or maybe even calls with my own business coach. Wednesdays I have as a day off. At the moment it looks like going to the spa every week, which I absolutely bloody love. Swimming, relaxing on the heated beds, getting in the hot tub, spa, like sauna. Oh, love it, love it. I'm obsessed, right? And that to me gets to feel free and gets to be luxury. But that's something that is valuable to me. That's what I want in my life. You might not want that. And then Thursday, Friday for me are all about spending time supporting my clients. That's when I really dive into delivery with going live or hosting Zoom sessions, whether it's coaching or mentoring clients, hosting strategy sessions in my membership, whatever that looks like. I deliver those on Thursdays and Fridays. But then I also go off to business events and things on a Friday quite occasionally, once a month, and fit those in as well. So I prioritise that for my own growth and for networking and to help other people grow. And then as a boundary, the weekends are mostly for family time. And I spend time with my family or time for myself. So that is built and based on what's valuable to me. The time for myself, the time for my family, wanting to go connect with other business owners, wanting to make sure that I can fit everything in. But for someone else that might just not work. You might have more than one business. You might have an employed job still, so you can't navigate your days in the way that I do. You might hate swimming and don't want to go to the spa every week. For you it might be you want to go out for a meal every week with your husband, your wife, or whoever, your best friend, coffee with the girls. That might be what you want. So it's about building in the visions of based on your values and putting a system in place for that. Whether it is what your work routine looks like, or it could be that you put a system in, like an email management system, a CRM system, that helps you communicate with your clients in the way that you want. It gets to be different for all of us because we all have a different idea of what freedom looks like. And I want you to come away from this episode thinking about, now going back to clarity, like I said in the beginning, get really clear on what freedom looks like for you. And then I want you to ask yourself how you can use systems within your business to create the freedom that you want, and recognise what the truth is about how you organise and manage your business. Because I know it's going to give you time back and it's going to create ease, and it's about time that more people stopped avoiding it. Stopped avoiding the tech, stop avoiding the investment, stop avoiding saying you don't have the time. Because I know that's just a mindset and you need to do the work to make the difference. Find a way to make the investment. Find a way to make the time, because if you're not making the time for something, Do you really want it? And then finally, stop making the excuses. What can you change? What can you do now that's going to make the difference so that you can achieve this freedom lifestyle that you want? Whether that is going to the spa every week and having the luxury business lounge membership. That's what I wanted. That's what I got. That's what I've created. What am I creating next for freedom? For me, it's being able to... So I only work 4 days a week, and that is an amazing goal. I've done this for about 6 months now, because last year I weren't doing it. So I set the intention with myself at the start of this year to only work 4 days. Now, don't get me wrong, on some occasions I will go to a business event that's on a Wednesday, which is typically my day off, or I may respond to clients on my day off, or I may sit and do admin work on my day off. However, that usually only happens if I've had another day off through the week. For example, a couple of weeks ago I went to a hen do on a Friday, so I had an extra day off and I'd only worked 3 days that week. So the following week after that, I sat and did some work on the Wednesday because I wanted to give that time back to my business. But it's about making those choices and what is right and what is aligned for you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I know I always say it, but please do reach out on social media, share it and tag me in the episode. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your feedback, let me know what's come up for you. Pop me a message in response as well, because I'd love to hear what light bulb moments have gone off for you and what you're going to go in action after listening to this episode. I'll see you soon for another one. I've got some really good guest speakers coming up on the podcast very soon, and some really good topics to cover as well. But as always, if there's anything you want to hear about, then just let me know, because I'd love to come and talk about the things that you want to hear. I'll see you soon.